Okay, before we can spray the auto air, we gotta make sure we've covered any areas of bare metal. We're just using an etching primer. Obviously the auto air is water based, so it's not a good idea to shoot it over bare metal. We're just using the etching primer to seal in any areas of bare metal. Just 1 or 2 light coats should be enough. When that's dry, we go back over now with a good high build 2-pack primer. Ideally we want to low bake this, and if possible leave it overnight. We're now sanding it down with 600 wet and dry sandpaper. You can also dry sand it, but Stunts is using 600 wet and dry here, removing any imperfections and gives it a good key for the auto air to stick to. Make sure everything's masked up and locked down, and we're ready to spray. I'm using the 4000 series base coat sealer dark with no reducer, and I'm going to apply 2 or 3 light coats. You notice I'm working on fairly light coats. What you don't want to do is put this paint on too wet. It's a very, very high coverage paint, so you're just looking for a couple of 1 or 2 nice light dust coats will cover even primed areas. When you finish your first coat, you heat set it, and it should look very mottled. Don't be alarmed by this, this is perfectly natural, but it is important. The second coat is going to cover all this. Now I'm just applying the second coat. It looks like I'm putting it on pretty wet here, but that's just the sheen from the oven lights. I'm still actually putting on a fairly light coat here. I'm using about 1.5 quarts, that's about 1.5 liters, to do the whole car. It's very important to heat set it between coats. You can use an infrared light, heat gun, or in this case we're just using the oven heat. But once we got it completely set after 3 coats, this is the finish we should be looking for. And we're now ready to start the design. I'm just using 3mm fine line tape, laying it directly onto the base coat sealer dark. And I'm going over that with 2-inch masking tape. I'm using a scalpel with a 10A blade, and I'm cutting directly on top of the fine line tape. I'm drawing my design out now with a pencil, straight on top of the masking tape. And when I'm happy with the overall look, I'm just going to cut it out and weed it out. Be sure not to leave any frayed edges, and make sure the whole thing's completely locked down. It takes a lot longer to fix underspray than it does to actually prevent it in the first place, so make sure you've got everything patted down. I'm just masking up the overall area. Obviously we don't want to overspray everywhere. When we've got everything masked up, we're ready to apply the colour now. I'm just using the gun as a blow gun here in conjunction with a tack rag to remove any surface imperfections. And now I'm ready to spray pearl black. You can see by the overspray in the